All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you live from very sunny Duluth, Minnesota. It's a tad bit chilly today. It is, I think it was 5 degrees when I dropped the kid off at daycare, so crazy cold. But it's nice. I like it. It's very sunny. The snow, it's very bright. Oh my God, it's so bright because of the snow. But it's awesome. So today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we jump into our video RPG du jour. As always, like and subscribe. Hit that bell to be dinged when I dong, so you'll know when I post a new video or I go live. And you can support me on ZellyPay if you wish to send contributions. I'm sure most of you know I'm unemployed, so this is just a little extra way of generating a little revenue to help keep the family fed. And your donations do help. I have a wonderful 2-year-old that is amazing. I have a wife who unfortunately has some medical issues going on, and so we're trying to get her the help she needs and all that. And of course, none of that is cheap. I'm sure you guys all know. So anything you can spare is awesome and much appreciated. And of course, I'll give shout outs on air for those people that donate. And if you choose to stay anonymous, that's fine. Just let me know. You can send a donation to ZellyPay to care of J Polak, POLACK at gmail.com. So with all of that out of the way, and also I'm on MeWe. I'll put links down in the doobly-doo. So you guys can follow me on MeWe. I post my videos on MeWe as well. And, you can hit me up on that social media and we can chit chat. I'm also on Discord. Again, links will be down in the doobly-doo. So anyway, with that out of the way, today we are going to look at something that I truly enjoyed. I only got to play it once, but I'm happy that it's in my library. I had the first edition, and unfortunately it got lost in a tragic accident at Gen Con back in 1997 when I was there. I left all of my stuff sitting on a table in a big egg milk crate, and I turned my back to talk to somebody after running a demo for Palladium, and all my Palladium books, and this book was in there as well. And I turned my back to talk to somebody for a couple of minutes, and I turned back around and my crate was gone. Somebody had stolen it. And I, of course I did everything. I went to Lost and Found. I told everybody that was in the game, hey, did you see anybody walking around with this crate? Of course, nobody saw nothing. And so many people at Gen Con, it's hard to tell. It sucked. The good news is I did reach out to the Megaversal ambassador at Palladium Books back in the day. I don't remember the person's name. It's 1997, I believe, was the year. And lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, I got a huge box. The UPS guy would not even take it off his truck. He made me go get it because it was too freaking heavy. And there was a nice note in there from the Megaversal ambassador, which I want to say his name was Steven. And then, of course, Kevin Simbieta. And Kevin had put in a nice note saying, hey, I heard about what happened while you were demoing games for us. I hope this will help. And it was most of that stuff that's on the shelf. I think my Palladium stuff is in a box because I just don't play it anymore. It's still near and dear to my heart. I still love all the product. I just don't. I don't play the game. I don't support the company, unfortunately, just because of some things that have happened. But that's a rant for another time. But anyway, long story short, they were super cool. They reimbursed me. They sent me 99% of everything that I lost, plus more. So it was super cool. And they will forever have a place in my heart for doing that, because that was something they didn't have to do. And I fully expected to have to go out and buy all those books all over again. And luckily I didn't. But little story over today by Priestess, Priestess. Where did I get that from? Politically Incorrect Games, or piggames.com. HardNova II. Man, you talk about a cool little game. It uses the genre division I, which I don't know what the I stands for. I'm sure I haven't played this in years, but I was looking for something to review, and Brett, the owner of the company, Brett Bernstein, is a super nice guy. I've talked to him once or twice on G+. I did a review of I can't think of the game now. I haven't. It was softback, or I had it as a PDF. It was a box, and then they came out with it redone as a hardback. And for the life of me, I can't think of the name of it. And I do apologize, but you know what? I have his website pulled up, so let's go look and see. Just so you know, these guys do a ton of games, and they've gotten some licenses to a bunch of smaller press games. Let's see. So what do they got? The Master Books. They've done all of those. Coyote Trail, Wild West Role Playing, Mean Streets, Man, Myth, and Magic, Time Ship, Treasure Awaits, Barbarian Versus, Darkwood, Lords of Olympus, Super Game, which I believe he's doing a reprint of. I'm not sure if that went to Kickstarter. I don't remember. I think I backed it. I'm not sure. I don't remember. HardNova, which is what we're looking at today. Active Exploits, which was a diceless role-playing game. Earth AD. I heard really good things about that, but I've never got a chance to check it out. Eldritch Ass Kicking, which again, I've never heard of it, never seen it. Story Engine, I've seen. Ghost Stories, I've seen. Blood Shadows, super cool horror setting if you're into that. And then, of course, Shatter Zone. That's the one I couldn't think of. I did a nice review of Shatter Zone a year and a half to almost 2 years ago, I think. And he was nice enough to comment. Iron Gauntlets, which is another of their games. That's how I first found out about them, is I had downloaded the PDF of Iron Gauntlets from DriveThruRPG. I think all of their product is available from DriveThru, but also on their website, which is piggames.net. Iron Gauntlets is pretty cool. I had that. I had printed it out and spiral bound it, and unfortunately I lost it throughout the years. I don't even think I own a PDF copy of it anymore. So Brett, if you want me to review some more of your stuff, send me PDF copies or physical copies. I'm not opposed, and I will be happy to review your stuff, because dude, you make some awesome stuff, or he brings awesome stuff back to life. He's gotten the licenses for a couple of things like Super Game, and I did back Super Game, and I got my copy in the mail, and totally super cool. In fact, I need to do a review of Super Game, so that will be one that's upcoming here. So I just have to find my copy. I think it's in a box. But HardNova II, 2004, Perfect Bound book, glued. I will say this is my second copy. My first copy fell apart, and that's no fault of Pig Games. That's just the nature of the beast. When these things sit in storage, or they sit for a long time and they don't get used, that glue dries up, especially if they're exposed to humidity and then allowed to dry out. That glue gets brittle, and then they just fall apart. It is that is the basis of this book. But when you look at it and you're paying, and here's the glory part right now, guys. This is what's amazing. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo, but if you go to DriveThruRPG right now, which I think it's GM week, which is why everything's discounted, the core PDF, this book right here, is a whopping $2.97. Now, I don't get a kickback from DriveThru. I don't get a kickback from Pig. So I'm pimping this for my own reasons, because I like the game. Mr. Mean, my opinions are very opinionated. And if I don't like a game, I'll tell you straight out. If I think a game's meh, I'll tell you. This is a fun game. It's cool, hard sci-fi. It's got some aliens in it. This is a quick, fast game. And we'll go over the specifics of it here in a minute. But on DriveThruRPG right now, he has a plethora of material that's available to download. I mean, probably for around $20, maybe 30, you can get everything. Well, here we go. The core genre diversion core mega pack bundle. This special bundle product contains the following titles: Coyote Trail, without breaking your budget. Okay, well, it's a ton of games, but Earth is in there. HardNova's in there. So this is all the core games. It's for $20. So excluding that, he's even got disposable heroes, which are paper miniatures that you can print out and you can mount or whatever. So aliens, the Rathdy, space western, which is you mix Coyote Trail, which is their western, with HardNova, and you've got Serenity basically. Miniseries Alpha, action adventure, Characters 1. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff on here. Enhancement Pack 2 beta, a bunch of cool stuff. And I mean, Enhancement Pack is $1.50. The Enhancement Pack beta is $2.40, and HardNova II Incidentals is $1.80. Then these are basically NPCs or characters. You could use them, but again, for $10, you can get a whopping buttload of RPG goodness. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can't go wrong with that. So, Nefarious is in here. Speaking of, I just I can't talk today, guys. I just recently started picking up Pig's Shatterzone reprints. Man, can I tell you how cool that is? That book, I think all they did with the reprint is they put it in a hardback and they cleaned it up a little bit. But isn't that a great game? Man, I love it. And I wish I could get someone to play it with. I also picked up their Blood Shadows. I missed out on Blood Shadows and, of course, unemployed right now, so not buying anything new unless I get lots of donations and I can afford to. But obviously, paying the rent is a priority. I'm sure everybody understands. But Blood Shadows is awesome. And they also, hold on one second, man. You mean these? Mr. Mean has it all. Well, not all, but yeah, these are awesome. And you can use these with all of their series. So you can use these with Blood Shadow. You can use these with Shatterzone. Yeah, those. Thanks, man. Thanks for logging in and watching, Nefarious. Appreciate it. Yeah, Blood Shadows, man. If you run a Blood Shadows on Fantasy Ground or Roll20, man, hit me up. I will gladly play. I've never played it. It's always been one that's on my list to play, and I never got a chance to play it. I remember one year at Gen Con SoCal, somebody was running a game, but my demo was at the same time, so I couldn't play. So I was totally bummed. Yeah, the original Shatterzone cards. I have the box set, but unfortunately, it's literally falling apart because the glue is so old. I mean, it's over 20 years old, I believe. And Cast a Deadly Spell. I don't think I've seen that. Is that loosely based off of Shatterzone or Blood Shadows? I don't know that movie. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, this is the deck, and I like this deck because the cards are laminated or glossy coated, and they're a little thick. I don't know if you can use these with HardNova because it's a different game mechanic, but you could probably figure a way to work them in. Oh, okay. So the movie inspired Blood Shadows. Yeah. Blood Shadows is a great, horror. I don't know. Old made for HBO movie from the 90s. Great stuff. Okay. I'm a Cody user, if that means anything to you. So I'll definitely look for it and see if I can find it. But the MasterCard, yeah, man, great. If you're into Blood Shadows or Shatterzone, another good hard sci-fi setting. But HardNova, man, you want to talk about quick and easy. Horror 40s noir, yeah. So Blood Shadows, 3rd edition. I'm assuming 3rd edition, they cleaned up the rules, Nefarious. I'm assuming you'll let us know. Oh, and it's on Amazon Prime. Well, I have Amazon Prime, so I'll definitely might be what the mama and I watch tonight. After the kid goes to bed, we try to watch a little TV together just for some husband-wife time, since the kid wears us out. Yeah, man, HardNova II. Real simple D6 based system. And I know I've lamented here on my channel about how much I despise D6 systems, but yet I seem to like a lot of them and review a lot of them. So maybe I don't hate D6 systems too much. I hate systems like Champions or WEG's Star Wars. Never was a fan of it. I know Heresy, everybody loves WEG. WEG is West End Games, Star Wars. I was not a fan of it. I didn't like Shadowrun, chucking that. I just not a fan of that dice mechanic. But I do like HardNova's. So you have stats and skills, and they're based from 1 to 6, basically. They can go higher if you're an alien or bionics or whatever. But for the most part, your attributes are 1 to 6. And then your skills rate the same. And then what happens is you add those two together, and that plus or minus, well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. You add those two together, then you roll 2d6. If you roll equal to or less than whatever that total is, you've succeeded in the task. Now, the GM can assign modifiers, and this is where it gets slightly confusing. And I remember the first time I read this, I went, what? A negative modifier adds a die because remember, you're trying to roll low. So adding more dice makes the task more difficult. So then you have margins of success. So if I have a 12 in a skill, and you have a 12 in a skill, and we're opposed, and I roll and you roll, and there's no modifiers. And again, modifiers would be adding dice pool to make the number bigger, which in actuality is a negative. Then we would count, so if I have a 12 and you have a 12 and I rolled a 10 and you rolled a 9 total, well, your number is lower. So your margin of success between 12 and 9 is greater than 10 and 12. So therefore you win. And that's basically the mechanics of this game. And what I like about it is this is all you need to buy. If you want a quick, fun, easy to play RPG that everybody can pick up in an evening and play for 3 or 4 hours, this is one of the ones I would recommend. It's that easy. It's a generic sci-fi setting. There's the bad guy aliens. There's the good aliens. There's humans. There's androids. You want to make it kind of Star Warsy, you can. You want to make it, Star Trek, you can. You want to make it Serenity, add Coyote Trail. You've got your Western. Boom, you're good to go. The character sheet in the back is pretty bland. In fact, it's multiple. I don't think there's a single. Yeah, it's multiples. So that's a blank. That's 4 characters. So that tells you how fast it's in. And of course, they do give you a bunch of pre-mades. So you could literally pick one of these guys out and play with it. Let's see what Nefarious is saying. Yeah, okay. So Blood Shadows 3E has gone to Pig's 2D6 system, which is this system right here. Not a big 2D6 fan, but it does have some nice custom spell creation rules and such. Yeah, I mean, I know I bag on 2D6 systems, but there's a lot. The Fantasy Age, Dragon Age, Modern Age uses a 3D6 system. It's a really good system. I like it, but it's D6s, and I say I hate D6 games. So, I'm contradicting myself there. But this is a 2D6 system. Possibly 3 or 4 D6. You're going to want a handful of D6s. Obviously, rolling less dice is better because you want to get below that target number of whatever your skill is, plus or minus modifiers that the GM sets on you. But so glue-bound book, it will eventually fall apart on you. I recommend, see, mine just split. Look at that. Boop, the glue just popped. It is stitched. It's lightly stitched. About every inch is a stitch. So hopefully it won't fall apart too much on me. And I'm probably going to, Brett, if you're listening and you watch this, make this a hardback book, man. Please. I mean, do a Kickstarter. I bet you'll get enough people to back it to at least cover the cost of the print run. And print in Canada or America if you can. I know it's more expensive, but it means more. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the glue binding, as you can see. I mean, this was brand new in 2004, and it's just the glue popping. If I lay it flat, yeah, it's going to pop. But it is sewn in there, so I don't think my pages are going to fall out. Yeah, but it is the spinding. So what I would recommend, and probably what I'll do with this one, is I'm probably going to cut the spine off and get it spiral bound. And then I don't have to worry about it. And the spiral bound will allow it to lay flat, which is also nice. But I do like the digest size. The art is consistent. It's all black and white art. Looks like it's all done by 3 guys, Chris Martinez, Brett Bernstein, and Matt Drake. It was written and designed by Brent Bernstein and Matt Drake. So politically incorrect games. They've been around for a while, guys. I mean, they've made a plethora of games. And like I said, I'll put notes in the doobly-doo. But good game system, man. I mean, like I said, I know I'm not a huge fan of 2D6, but I do like games where the dice mechanic is concise and simple, and everything you need is in this book. You don't have to buy anything else. And right now, this book is under $3 on DriveThruRPG as a PDF. And as well as most of all the other PDFs that they offer for this are all around the under $3 range, except for that mega bundle, but that includes a bunch of other games. So shit, it's so cheap, man. Go pick them all up. I'm really tempted to buy some of the expansions for this because, I mean, right now, $1.75, that's ridiculous. That's a great price. Money is tight for me, so if I spend that kind of money, it's not a super big deal, but the wife would kill me because we have a baby, so we have to make sure we got food on the table and all that fun stuff. I had to go apply for government assistance yesterday, which was a hit to my pride. But you know what? My pride can go right out the window when it comes to taking care of my baby. He comes first, and he's awesome, and he deserves the best that I can give him. So if that means I got to swallow my pride and go sit in line, for 2 hours, then, tell someone all my woes so that they'll give me food stamps, then so be it, man. That's what they're there for. And I've paid taxes for 30 plus years I've worked, so I might as well get something out of it. So anyway, so the little blurb on the back: take to the stars, smuggle exotic goods across the galaxy, solve mysteries aboard space liners, or explore the frontier. HardNova II is a role-playing game designed to be both easy to learn and fast-paced. Versatile rules make it perfect for one-shot games, extended play, or as a framework for your own ideas. The included setting can be easily discarded and replaced by that of your favorite movie, television program, comic, or novel. Requires 2d6 dice. So features: flexible and consistent, basic and advanced rules for starships, robot, exotic abilities, aliens, and more. Ready-to-use templates to get into the action quickly. 60 templates for characters, aliens, starships, and robots. 5 ready-to-play episodic scenarios. Patrol the galaxy and battle pirates, vicious aliens, and unknown hazards. 5 ready-to-play one-shot scenarios. Perfect for last-minute play or as a diversion from your other games. So, like I said, this game fills a neat notch in where, say you're running Star Wars, say you're running Serenity, or you're running Star Trek, the new Star Trek by Modifius, which is awesome. Go pick it up. I did a review on it. Go back in the archive and watch it. I'm also a big fan of the Star Wars by Fantasy Flight games. I really love the storytelling dice mechanic. But 2 of your players can't make it, and so only 2 players can show up here. You've got that perfect gaming group of 4 players plus a GM. 2 of them can't make it. Don't cancel the session. GM, pick this up and run it. Run a sci-fi quick game for everybody to play. You'll have a blast. It'll break the monotony a little bit, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. It'll get your juices flowing. It's a different mechanic. You'll get a break from whatever game system you're running, and you just might find that, wow, this is gonna, this might lead to a great campaign. And maybe when we're done with Star Wars or whatever other game we're running, we'll run HardNova. And look, man, everybody can buy a copy of the rule book for $3, and you can print it out and get it spiral bound, and you're good to go. So HardNova, man, that's what I think. The art is consistent. They got the same 3 guys doing the art. There's a lot. I mean, they pack a lot in this book. Like I said, all the templates in the back. There's some information on their other games that they make in the back. The genre division, quick fix mini games, and virtual boxed sets using 2 6-sided dice. Perfect for a single evening's game or a quick playing rules framework for your continuing adventures. And they cover everything, man. There's space opera, Western, horror, supers, you name it, this covers it. So, or the genre division does. I can't say enough good things about it, man. It's quick, easy, and the nice thing, it's all black and white. If you need to make copies and you don't own the PDF, lay this down on your photocopier and you're good to go. I mean, just good stuff. I really can't talk highly enough about it. I like games that are, here's some floor plans. You can blow those up on your printer. So you've got a ship. I mean, very basic. And of course, you can search the internet and find generic spaceship, plots and plans and stuff like that. So no big deal there, man. Lots of cool stuff. So, gosh, I mean, let's see. How long have we been going for? We've been going for 24 minutes. And we got 3 people in the video here, but only Nefarious has posted anything. And the other 2 are creeping quietly, I guess. Yeah, I don't see anybody else has posted anything. As always, thank you guys for watching. If there's a game you want to see reviewed, go ahead and drop me an email or put a note on one of my YouTube videos. I go back and I look at all of them. You'll know I've seen your message because I'll give it a thumbs up, or a thumbs down if it's derogatory. But I can honestly say I don't get a whole lot of those. I get a couple thumbs downs on the actual videos themselves, and that's okay. I'm not for everybody, and I know that. But the fact that you guys watch my videos is awesome. I appreciate it. And like I said, if there's a certain game you want to see reviewed or talk about, right now for the foreseeable future, I'm unemployed, so I'm home. My wife is in therapy Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 9 to 12, so I'm free. So if you want to fire up, YouTube and get on here, or uh, Google Hangouts, and we can record a session and talk about stuff. Or I like Discord a lot better. Catch me on Discord, man. Let's get on there and talk about it. One of the games I want to go over a little bit more, and I actually want to try and get a play session of, is Polaris. This is a very cool French future sci-fi Earth setting. And I've done a review of it. Go back in the archive, check it out. But this is one I would like to get to the table. I'm pretty stoked about it. My good friend Brian Isakoff turned me on to it, and it's very cool. It's got a decent amount of crunch. I don't think it's overly crunchy, but it's a very cool setting. It's set underwater on Earth's future after nuclear holocaust. So definitely one I want to get to the table. I do own the Uber box set. I bought it a couple of years ago when I lived in Texas. And this is 2 books, the 2 core books, and they have a GM screen, which I do own the GM screen, and it's hardback. So definitely want to try to support some of these games that don't get a lot of love. That's what I pride on my channel is. I mean, I do review some D&D stuff and the more popular Fantasy Flight stuff. I haven't been buying any of that stuff because I don't have anybody to play it with. I just got a local gaming group, and we're going to run Scum and Villainy. It's a hack of Blades in the Dark, which is a hack of Apocalypse World, and I'm looking very fun. Saturday is our first session. I'm very excited to run that, and I'm looking forward to doing that. We're going to have a pilot and a mechanic, and hopefully we'll be able to drum up 1 or 2 more players. I'd like to get a total of 4 players, but unfortunately, meetups is no longer free. It used to be free, and then if you paid, you could do other stuff. And it may have always been this way. I don't know. Nefarious, I will definitely do an after-action report of Scum and Villainy. Like I said, we have our first 2 characters. We have a pilot and a mechanic, ship's mechanic, which is basically the bare bones of what you need on the ship. Because the nice part is they'll build their characters with some guidance from me to focus a little bit more, to be more well-rounded instead of being, uber specified, like the mechanic only can work, does mechanic stuff. He's going to actually be able to fire a gun and do stuff like that, because the game's called Scum and Villainy. So you can imagine these are not the nicest people in the world, or they do questionable things. I'm a huge fan of Serenity, and so there would be a lot of influence of that. Coriolis is also a strong influence for me. I really like Coriolis and its setting. So definitely those are games. I like to review the little known games. Everybody, you can find 101 videos or reviews of the latest Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition splat book. But how many reviews of HardNova can you find on the internet right now? Not too many. I imagine if you find more than 3, it'd be awesome. How many reviews of Scum and Villainy are out there? There's a couple Let's Plays, but that's done by the producers of the game. There is a couple. I did go on Twitch yesterday and look and saw a couple live plays, or they recorded on Twitch of Scum and Villainy. I think I saw 3 different streams, which I thought was cool. But right now the Apocalypse hack games are pretty popular. So Blades in the Dark, Worlds in Peril, Monster of the Week, all those games are really popular right now. Nefarious Cole is saying he got a bit sick of D&D a couple decades ago, like to get off the normal trail. Yeah, man, I like running the odd games that people aren't necessarily aware of. And I a lot of times when I have friends come over and they look and they go, what the hell? Never even heard of this game. So I like having some weird stuff in my collection. I lost a lot of books through the years moving, but yeah. Nefarious Apocalypse World is really neat. I GM'd Dungeon World for a while and really, really enjoyed it. It's funny because in this, we went from an era of role-playing quietness, so to speak, where everything followed the D&D mechanic for the most part. And then we went through a phase where everyone was coming out with weird mechanics and different, dice rolls and ways to interpret things. And then we kind of went back to the D&D thing again. And now we're kind of emerging into that. In the last 5 years, we're back into that, game mechanics can be different. Fantasy Flight's Genesis system, I think, is phenomenal. The Star Wars, Fantasy Flight Star Wars is a great game. But I know a lot of people that don't like Star Wars or don't like to play games set in a defined universe. They want to create their own, do their own thing. So Star Wars for them, or Star Trek, has no interest. And so games like Apocalypse World and Dungeon World and Scum and Villainy, those games you can play in different genres that you and your group. And that's what's nice about story. I call those storytelling games, even the Fantasy Flight game, because even though you're set in a predefined world, the dice kind of explode in a way that creates options that a normal, roll and keep dice system or a D20 system can't do. And I'm not the type of GM that I don't like to sit there and say, okay, so you slash your sword, you hit, you tell me you did 15 points of damage. And then I tell you, oh, so you cut it twice and, it falls into 3. I don't want to tell you that. I want you to tell me that, because all I'm doing is setting the framework and you're supposed to describe what happens. And that's what I like about all of the Apocalypse Engine games. They promote that. And, I get a lot of players that say, oh, I don't know how to role play like that. And then they dive in, and that's what's been really great about Fantasy Flight Star Wars, because the dice give those quiet players a voice. Because in a D20 game, and I'm not picking on D20, it's a great mechanic, it's a good system. I'm running Esper Genesis 5e right now online. In fact, I have a game tonight. It's a great mechanic, but I have players that are very verbose and like to tell stories and like to proliferate what they've done, or expound upon what the die roll means. But there's a lot of players out there that don't know how to do that or feel uncomfortable. And what Fantasy Flight has managed to do is to put in a mechanic that when you roll those dice, it gives you ideas of what to do. And all I have to do as a GM is prod that player just a little bit and say, well, this setback dice says that's, even though you got enough successes to achieve what you wanted, this setback dice says something bad happened. What happened? And you'll be amazed. Players are their own worst enemies. I've been GMing for almost 30 years now, and players will do more evil things to themselves than I could ever dream of, which is awesome. And that's where the Apocalypse Engine and the Fantasy Flight games have really brought that to the limelight, because players, they have that story in them. That's why we play these role-playing games. Sure, it's to get treasure and kill the monsters and be the hero, but we want to tell a story. And that's what's great about these games. And, was the first time I did an RPG again after decades. So rusty. Yeah. But it's great, man. It's like riding a bike, you fall off, you get right back on. It's like you never stopped. And that's what's great about role-playing games is if you can talk, whether you use sign language or you have to write it out. I had a player in one of my games when I lived in Louisiana that was deaf, and so I would write out everything. And he went to a couple of the cons that I went to, and that's how I met him. And I would text it to him on his phone, so role-playing doesn't stop anybody. And, there's enough hate and violence in this world. We don't need it at our gaming table. I don't care if you're lesbian, if you're gay, if you're bi, if you're transsexual, transgender. I don't care. As long as you sit at the table and you're respectful to me and my players and to the game, you are welcomed. That's the point of the game, is to sit down with people of like minds and have a good time. And if you're a Star Wars fan and we all sit down, I don't care if you have blue hair. I don't care if you want to wear a dress and you're a guy. Are you comfortable? I've worn a kilt before. I love it. I would wear a kilt every day if I could get away with it. But it's not socially acceptable in our society. And I'm trying to find a job. So I'm not going to go to a job interview in a kilt. If I was independently wealthy, I would wear a kilt and say, fuck it, don't care. But I'm not. But anyway, that's a rant for another time. The point is, dice systems and role-playing is to bring people together that enjoy the same thing. And if we're in a golden age right now with Roll20, Fantasy Ground, Discord, even Skype, they've made some improvements on Skype. It's not as bad as it used to be. I'm a Discord fan, but sitting around the table or a virtual table and playing with people that you don't know anything about, but know that you and I share that same love of Game X. That's awesome. The guys that are in my Esper Genesis game, I only know one of them. Come to find out, one of the players, kept trying to meet me while I lived in Texas because he lives in Beaumont himself, but we could never catch up. And so when he saw I was running an Esper Genesis game and he had followed my YouTube channel, he jumped on. He was the second guy, Thomas, my good friend who I knew and from Lake Charles, jumped on it. But yeah, it brings people together, man. And if you sit down and you do the social contract and you say, okay, guys, gals, what's taboo in your game, so I don't cross that line, you're bound to have a great time. And that's what I love about role-playing games is it's my therapy. It's what keeps me sane, and it brings people together to tell a fun story. But let me look at what Nefarious here is blowing up the chat. I have Dungeon World Monster of the Week and the Sprawl, never played, but it's inspiring being so different. Nefarious, I say go to a local convention, man, and either run the game yourself or find some other people that'll run it. I would be more than happy to run a one-shot Dungeon World session for you. If you got some people together, we could do it one night. It's such an easy game to run. Uncharted Worlds is another kind of in this line. It's a hard sci-fi game. It's kind of open-ended, a little bit more than this. This is more defined, but Uncharted World is by Sean Gomes, is a great Apocalypse Engine hack for sci-fi. And of course, you want to do Star Wars in it, you can, that kind of thing. He's there's a lot of the mechanics that he's unhappy with, and he's going to go back and redo it. I'm supposed to get him on the channel. We just haven't got our wires crossed, and we haven't had a chance to actually communicate with each other to actually figure out a time when we can get together and run a game. So let's see what else is Nefarious here saying. The Android setting for Fantasy Flight System is out. Looks good, but I wish the book had a bit more equipment and cyberware in it. I talked about this in one of my previous videos, the Shadow of the Beanstalk. The Beanstalk in the Netrunner, I don't want to say iconology, but the nomenclature. The Beanstalk is a I forgot what they call it, but it's a basically a glorified elevator that runs from Earth to a big space station, if I remember correctly. I never played the Netrunner card game because I just wasn't into it. Netrunner wasn't the original Netrunner card game, was inspired by the Cyberpunk 2020 RPG. And then I don't know what happened, and I could be wrong, but that's my understanding. And then it went into Fantasy Flight, got the license for the game, and they made it one of their, I guess, a living card game. I don't even know what that means because I don't play it. The Android setting, my 2 cents on that is hate the name. Hate the name. I get it. And they went for consistency and a title, but it only means something to people that play the game. If you don't know anything about the Netrunner game, was it? I thought it was Cyberpunk, man. I know the Shadowrun, because Shadowrun had its own card game. It was quite successful. I actually still have a bunch of those cards and decks. Didn't really enjoy the Shadowrun card game. It was so broken. There were so many cards that broke that game. It wasn't funny. Anyway, but the thing is, with the Android setting, I think they did a misnomer for themselves. But Fantasy Flight can do this. They have the money, they have the capital to make these kind of mistakes. But I don't think that book is going to sell as well as like the Tyranoth setting did, or the main Genesis book. And reason being, nobody knows what the hell Shadow of the Beanstalk is unless you play the Netrunner card game, or maybe you've read some. I think there's some novels based on that Netrunner as well. But if you're not already in that world and invested in it, you're not going to know what it is. I don't even know if it says Netrunner on the title. I think it just says Shadow of the Beanstalk. Maybe it does say Netrunner. But again, that to me doesn't tell me anything that it's a cyberpunk game or a sci-fi game. So at my favorite local, yeah, they had it. Yeah, I mean, a couple people ordered it. Realms of Tyrannoth, that was another one. A lot of people didn't know what it was, didn't know that it was based on the Runebound and the Descent IPs, which they own those IPs, which is why they came out. And I've done reviews of those. You can go back in the archives and look at those reviews. And I'm not in a big city. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Cyberpunk is getting pretty hot. Mike Pondsmith is an old friend of mine. And he's actually agreed. I talked to his PR people. He has PR people now. Back in the day when I knew him, it was I called him up on the phone and we chatted for 2 hours. But he has PR people now, which I think is cool. He's been going back and forth to not CCP, Red. It's the company that made The Witcher. I can't think of the name of the company right now. But they're obviously coming out with the Cyberpunk 2070 or whatever it is. RPG, and obviously the Witcher card game was an amazing, or Witcher RPG. Project Red, thank you, Nefarious. So he's been going back and forth to Poland to work with those guys on the Cyberpunk computer game, which, by the way, if you haven't seen anything on it, looks amazing. I'm hoping, I think it's going to be ported over to the Xbox and the PlayStation. I'm not a big PC gamer. I work on a PC all day. So when I come home, I don't want to play on a PC. And I'm a predominant Mac user, so there's not a lot of computer games. Been looking forward to checking out Cyberpunk Red. I just hope that old interlock system gets smoothed out. Nefarious, I can tell you, unofficially, officially, yes. I spoke with Mike's people, and a lot of the mechanics, boo, Mac user. Hey, now, don't have me ban you, man. I'll drop the ban hammer in a heartbeat. My Mac is 7 years old and still going strong. Do you have a PC that's going 7 years strong? Probably not. Don't want to pick on you, but hey, and my last PC lasted me 9 years. My last Mac laptop lasted me 9 years. It was totally upgradable. He just says LOL. So Mike's going to come on the show. He's already agreed to it. I'm supposed to, you have multiple PCs. Of course, I was a PC tech for years. Yeah, same here, man. I'm still a PC tech. I do desktop support. Senior desktop support analyst is my title. I've been doing it for about 20 years. But Mike Pondsmith's going to come on the show, and supposedly, rumor has it that I will get an advanced copy of the Cyberpunk rules before they go to press. And I don't know if I'm going to have to sign an NDA or anything, but I'll definitely get that stuff. And you better believe Mr. Mean will be doing a review of the new Cyberpunk Red or whatever. They haven't even given it a title yet, I don't believe. So, I'm all over the new Cyberpunk. And in fact, I will probably drop my Esper Genesis game to run Cyberpunk. Now, that being said, I want to bring it back full circle to talking about D&D, because Carbon 2170, 2175, 2180 just got funded on Kickstarter, and I had backed it before I got laid off from work, so I had paid for it. It is backed, and I gotta say, everything that I've seen so far for it is amazing. It's really nice looking, and it looks like it's going to be the definitive 5th edition Cyberpunk game, if that makes any sense. Esper Genesis is amazing in the fact that it is so far removed from D&D 5th edition, except for the basic mechanics. It's not even funny. Now, granted, they have Esper powers, which are basically, you could say, spells, but everything works so well. So Nefarious says he saw Carbon's Kickstarter was fenced with indecisiveness due to being another D&D D20 derivative, now having second thoughts. I can honestly say, sir, I'm not sure I haven't looked at their webpage to see, or their Kickstarter page to see if they're doing late backer pledges, but I think I backed for $30, $30 or $40. And that's getting me a hardback copy of the book and the movie poster, which I'm going to put up here in the office. My hair is everywhere, guys. I apologize. I'm just a hair bear. I would say, I got the advanced playtest copy. Everybody who backed the Kickstarter got access to the beta. And man, really cool. Very, very cool. It's not just a skin slapped on, on the D20 rules. It's its own thing. It's just using, again, like Esper Genesis, it's just using the D20 rules mechanic. Everything else has been thrown out and it is being covered by its own thing. Interface Zero. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to go off on another tangent. Gunmetal Games. Awesome guy. Can't remember his name right now. Jarvis. I think Jarvis. Can't remember. Gunmetal Games, I did a review of. I backed the 2.0 Kickstarter. I had the 1.0. I still have the 1.0. The Zeke book was a phenomenal book. It was adding basically psychic powers to Interface Zero. What's nice about Interface Zero 2.0 and now 3.0, Pinnacle Entertainment, the fine folks that make Savage Worlds, the Interface Zero book is so good. And if you don't have this in your collection, or if you've never played Savage Worlds and you want a cyberpunk alternative reality setting, do yourself a favor and get the PDF and or get the hardback book. Some of the best, keeping me busy today. Yes, sir. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Some of the best Savage Worlds rules for hacking. In fact, Pinnacle even mentions Interface Zero in their sci-fi source book. If you want to use hacking rules, they recommend you use Interface Zero's rules. Now, as a small press publisher, how much kudos is that a major publisher like Pinnacle Studios says to the world, hey, we have some hacking rules, but use these rules. They're better. That's awesome. That says a lot about your game. Yes, Nefarious, the hardback book, I have it as well. It is amazing. It's a beautiful book. Again, very, very well done. I do have a review of it back in the archives. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. And 3.0, one of the nice things, and Nefarious, I don't know if you got in on this, but one of the things that Jarvis did with Interface 3.0 is if you were a Kickstarter backer of 2.0, you were able to back for $30 and get the core book and all the stretch goals for $30 or $35. Yeah, I've heard the Fate version is pretty good. I'm not a fan of Fate. I mean, you can see it. It's up there on the shelf right there. I'm not a huge fan of Fate. I can't wrap my brain around it for whatever reason. And I talked about this in one of my other videos. I can't wrap my brain around. Let's talk about rules and rule systems. Go check that video in the archive, making you guys do homework. Fate is a great system. It's just not for me. But the nice part, like I said, is they're doing this Kickstarter 3.0. And if you backed Interface Zero 2.0 on Kickstarter, you can back at that level, which I think is $30 or $35. And that will get you the core book and whatever extra stuff comes up, I guess. Of course, I think everything extra is going to be PDF. I'm a big fan of getting the actual books. I like PDFs for the ease of access, but I don't like to read on a PDF. But I also have a caveat that as a content producer here on YouTube, and I want people to send me product to review, publishing games is an expensive hobby, and there's no rich game makers out there unless they were already rich before they got into the industry. So I have a love-hate relationship because I want you to send me your products to review. I want them in hardback or hard copy, but I feel guilty about having you spend your hard-earned money to send me product that's taking food out of your mouth. And I've never heard, none of these guys that have sent me product to review, and I've done a couple things, none of them have ever said, oh, it cost me so much and you gave me a shitty review. Because to be honest, most of the stuff I've reviewed, 99% of it has been awesome. The two bad reviews I have on my channel right now are basically from product that I purchased out of my own pocket. They weren't given to me. They weren't discounted in any way. I bought them at conventions or at game stores, and
I picked them up at a whim, and I said, "Oh, I'll come around to it later, and I'll look at it and read it." And both times I was painfully hurt, but that's okay. It is what it is. But so yeah, I love it when companies send me free stuff. And I would say the frugal side of me says to send it to me in a PDF. The greedy side, the gamer in me that wants all the books, says send it to me hard copy. My friend James over at Feral Games Inc. is a prolific writer and has some awesome game systems out there. And he did Ghost Ops, he did Zombies. I've done review of those. Go back in the archives and check them out. He did Delve, which is on my game table right now. It's right over there. I'm looking to run one shot of that for some new players here real soon. He makes great games, and he sends me hard copies, and I feel guilty. I feel guilty because he's in England, so he's paying postage for it to come. Now, I don't know if maybe it's shipped from here in the US to me, so it makes it a little, I don't know, but I just feel guilty because I know he's a struggling creator. He's making these games and these Kickstarters to support his new family, and I get it. Did I ever get a copy of Zweihander? Well, Nefarious, I did. I actually did a review. I can't remember the guy's name at Zweihander. He actually saw my review. If you go back in my archive, you'll see I did a review of Zweihander. My good friend Brian Isakoff, who used to run a podcast called 2D6 Feet in a Random Direction with Chris Hanrahan, who is a prolific game store owner in Oakland, California. They used to run this podcast, and he sent me a copy of Zweihander, the print-on-demand one. I didn't back it on Kickstarter. My friend Brian did, and that's how I found out about it. And he sent me a hard copy. Zweihander is an amazing game. It's a little more crunchier than Warhammer, even Warhammer 4th edition. And it's very similar. It's dark European, old world, but you want to talk about an amazing game. So yeah, I have a copy. There's a review. It's actually on the shelf there. Yeah, you can see it. It's right over there. So it's right above the Cities of Mist. Zweihander is a great game, and I highly recommend it. But the guys from Zweihander sent me a copy. Oh, cool. Well, thank you, man. Yeah, I have it as I have a hard copy, so I do appreciate it. If you want to donate it and send it, I'll give it out to one lucky viewer, or give it to one of your friends, man. Nothing better than giving the gift of gaming, especially if they're new to the gaming hobby. That's a tome that'll give them many nights of reading. I mean, that book is monster. Going back, Nefarious Cole, to our Powered by the Apocalypse, check out City of Mist if you're a superhero fan. That is such a twist on the Apocalypse engine that it's basically its own mechanic, but it does have some flavoring and takes some direction from the Apocalypse engine, but it's pretty much its own game, which it's a beautiful game, really well done. Yeah, and that thing is massive. The Zweihander book is huge. If I can even get it out. For those that don't know, this is Zweihander. Beautiful, right? 8.5 by 11 hardbound stitched. That's how thick. This thing's a beast, man. This is the print-on-demand version by Drive-Thru, and you can tell because it has that logo on it. The Kickstarter version does not have that logo, I believe. Nefarious, can you confirm that? And he also says that he's eyed City of Mist, but it seemed like it would take some head wrapping on my part. That's why I have not run it yet. I also, a little bit of a myth with the owner of the game company. I had pre-ordered the book and the little cards that come with it and some extra material that helps ease players into the game. Just little physical, not character sheets, they're cards. and they were back ordered for whatever reason. And I'm like, how can it be back ordered if it just came off a Kickstarter and you also have an online store? If you have an online store, you should have enough product to sell. If you know you're going to do 30,000 orders, you should have 30,000 copies. You should have about 32,000 copies. And that's just an arbitrary number that I'm throwing out there, but that's just how I look at it. Now, I could be wrong. I worked retail once in my life, and it was many years ago, but it was at a game store, and I did manage the game store. So, I kind of feel like I know a little bit. I know times have changed. This is a gorgeous book. I would highly recommend this. If you're looking, if I ordered Faith RV back in November, I had to get it from Europe. Took 3 months. Ugh. Faith. What is Faith? Why does that ring a bell? What's the full name of it? I sound like I should know that. The card one. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, from these guys from Spain. I had actually backed the original Faith, which was a yeah, you recommended it, I think. I had backed the version 1 Faith, which was basically a board game. And they went a novel idea, and it was really cool. Unfortunately, in actual play, it didn't work, which was you didn't have a character sheet, you had a character board. And then you had little tokens that you would put on that board for your skills and your abilities and everything. And the problem was, if you didn't have a dedicated table where you could leave everything set up, you had to remember where everything was, and it was kind of a pain in the ass. And the tokens didn't stay inside of the board. They weren't magnetic or anything, but the game uses cards as its task resolution, and it uses cards for its equipment. So if you say, oh, I throw a grenade, you actually have a card that's a grenade, and you give that card up and you say you throw a grenade. And it's really cool. And the dice mechanic was card-based and suit-based, kind of like Through the Breach for weird games. So excellent game. Highly recommend. Art is gorgeous. Have you got the book yet, Nefarious? Did you actually get the book? Yeah, it took 3 months. So I'm assuming you did get the book. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through it. I actually, so then I backed the Faith 2.0, and they taken away the cardboard stuff. Yeah, you got the 2.0 book. Yeah, if you did it back in November, it's 2.0. The first one they're not producing anymore, and they kind of shelved it, understanding that the game kind of failed. Yes, the expansion book and all the cards. Yes, you have to have the cards. They give rules for using a regular, Hoyle deck of playing cards, but you want the specific cards because the art on the cards is gorgeous. That's one of those books that to me is a coffee table RPG book. You put it down on the coffee table and you let everybody oogle it because it's so goddamn pretty. But yeah, that's Zweihander. That is the Beast. City of Mist is there. It's the light pink and red there. That's a pretty hefty tome as well. But yeah, Faith, beautiful game, beautiful book. Totally worth it if you can pick up a copy and its expansion. Through the Breach is another one of my favorite games that I wish I could get a group to play, but I can't find anybody to play. And I just think it's not one of those ones that is well suited to virtual tabletop playing because of the actual card mechanic. And that's one of those games I want to play. So yeah, Through the Breach, Faith, awesome games that use cards as their governing mechanic to task resolution. Yeah, so man, very cool stuff, Nefarious. I see we've still got 3 people in the chat, but only one person has posted anything. I assume the other 2 people are just listening, and I appreciate it. As always, this will go up on YouTube later on for everybody to look at. If there's a tabletop similar mod for any of them. I have been looking for a VTT, a virtual tabletop solution, and I haven't seen anything. Yes, they do work on a Mac. So Nefarious trying to be funny there and bag on my Mac. I'm on a PC right now. I'm on an HP gaming laptop that I got for Christmas about 3 years ago. It's the Star Wars edition when the new Force Awakens came out. I'm mostly just listening. It's hard to find someone who reviews smaller, different RPGs. That's why I follow your channel. Oh, Alan Bray. Thank you, sir. Yes, Alan has watched and commented a couple of times. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, man, that's the whole point of my channel. I think I'm filling a niche that, I mean, like you can see Dragonfire sitting there, and I was going to do a review of Dragonfire, and then I said, you know what, let me go look. And I looked for reviews of Dragonfire, and I found like 100. And I'm like, I don't need to review that. I mean, if there's 100 reviews out there already, and like I said before, how many reviews of HardNova is there? How many reviews of HardNova is out there? You know, so yeah, there's just so many odd RPGs, man. And I mean, I've got crazy shit sitting on my desk. Frostgrave, I'm a huge Frostgrave player. Magic World, Call of Cthulhu. You know, there's just so many good games that we shouldn't be limited by just D&D. And it just chaps my hide when I go to the game store and I try to get people interested in, you know, another game, and it's not D&D. No, it's not D&D. It's better. Or I shouldn't say it's better. That's not right. That's being elitist, and that's not what I'm about. It's different. If you like D&D, try this game. You might like it, you know. Or if you like Fantasy Flight's Star Wars, try HardNova. You might like it. The one complaint I get about Star Wars is the funky dice. But once you wrap your head around those funky dice, sky's the limit, man. You go nuts. I've run that game several times for several different groups, and every time the first game session is a little taxing for people that don't know the dice mechanics. But after that, they're all over it. So Alan says, I know, I love HardNova, and there's a lot of other genre division games that all use the same system and are great. Yes, indeed there are. We were talking about that earlier. I don't know if you've been tuned in to the beginning or not, but yeah, there's a lot. Nefaria says, that's all I've seen at the local store, people playing D&D or Pathfinder. Yeah, which is D&D 3.75. I will say I did play test Pathfinder 2.0, and it's just another variant of 5th edition D&D. I mean, it's kind of done its own thing, and I like it. I actually, dare I say, I think I'm going to like it better than 5th edition D&D. I'm waiting for the actual book to come out, which I think is due this summer. They're not going to do a Kickstarter, from my understanding. But it's Paizo, and they can afford to produce it, you know, and even if it flops. The nice part is they said a lot of their 1.0 content will be converted. They're going to put out a conversion book from 1.0 to 2.0, and I am going to pick up the Pathfinder 2.0. The problem that's going to arise with that, and why I will drop it right after I pick it up, is it's going to suffer from the bloat syndrome, because that's what Pathfinder does. You know, they have these adventure paths, which are great. There's 6 books. They retail for about $20 a book, $19 to $20 per book. They're usually about 60 to 70 pages long on average. And like I said, they run you about $20, which is, you know, you think about it, it's not expensive, but every 3 months they come out with a new book. So that's another $20. And I get content, and this is the age-old argument. Everybody complains, oh, RPGs are so expensive. Well, it's a one-time expense. Like this, you know, you can buy this and you don't have to buy anything else. You buy that extra content because you don't want to think. You want them to do the thinking for you. Well, in order for them to do the thinking for you, they have to get paid. They have families that have to eat. You know, that's so on. I wonder if they're going to make a pocket edition. My understanding from the forums is yes, they are going to do, but after the initial print run of 2.0. Now, here's the thing. At my local game store, they're pretty diehard for D&D, but there are several Pathfinder players. And there's a group that is doing the Pathfinder playtest. In fact, they've wrapped it up. I was running it alongside of them. So we had 2 groups of about total 15 people total. I think I had 6 people in my group and he had 8. Yeah, Alan, I'm right there with you, sir. But I have cheaters, man. So I have bifocals so I can read it, but it's not easy. I like the small print for portability. But yeah, my understanding is they're going to do a pocket edition after the initial print run of the hardback book, and I'm sure they'll do a softback book as well. I just don't know when that will happen, but that's the rumor. TDE for those, Alan says he's got trifocals and he still can't read TDE. TDE, for those that don't know, is The Dark Eye. The Dark Eye is by far my favorite fantasy RPG. I have everything for it, and the new, I think it's the 4th edition. It might even be 5th. I don't remember. There's only been 2 versions ported over to English, the 2nd edition and then the latest version, which is produced by Ulysses Spiel, which is a German-based company, but they are here in North America as well. And it was great because after I did that initial review of it, they had just finished up their Kickstarter, and I bought the physical book at my local game store in Beaumont. The guys over at Ulysses Spiel reached out to me and sent me, I just remember getting a, hey, what's your email? And I saw it was, I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I'm bad with names, but it was whatever at ulyssesnorthamerica.com. And I was like, jpolek@gmail.com. Why? And then like 5 minutes later, I get an email, ding, and it's all the PDFs of everything that was in the Kickstarter. So that's part of why I do this, to get free shit. I'm not going to lie. I'm greedy. I want my games. I can't afford them. I think it is 4th edition, which is amazing. Yes, Alan, I want to run a game, man. If you're down for playing over Discord, I will run a game. Don't, man. You know, those stat blocks are just there for completeness. You're only going to use a little bit of it. The more complex monsters you're going to use, like your NPCs with spells and stuff. What I like about the Dark Eye is the magic system. We are talking a fantasy low magic but yet high magic setting. To get a +1 sword in the Dark Eye, that is a major thing. That sword will last a player character probably the life of that character. That's how amazing a +1 weapon is. The game mechanics are awesome. It uses D20. See, I have my, and I'm not joking when I say I have everything for the Dark Eye. I did a review of this, but I got this. I ordered it off of Amazon dirt cheap. I will say what's really cool is Ulysses Spiel has been great about sending me PDFs. And I've reviewed Torg. I did an unboxing of Torg. I'm not a huge fan of Torg, but I backed all of the Ulysses Spiel, and I'm dropping shit everywhere. You have multiple D20s in the Dark Eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 attributes. Each attribute on your character sheet is color coded. So you have a blue D20, you have a yellow D20. So the way the game works, and this is just a quick overview, you roll 3 dice when you do a skill resolution. Combat is only a single D20. But if you're trying to pick a lock, that's a skill resolution. So you use 3d20, and it'll tell you what attributes to use. Each attribute is colored with a die. You don't have to use colored dies. That is the beautiful part. But you got this little leather dice roller, dice cup. These are the from the last Kickstarter. It's the damage dice. Most damage is on a D6. I think there's a couple that are on a D10, but they're like big weapons. But everything, most of your task resolution and for either combat or skills is all D20. And it's nice because that is the symbol of the Dark Eye. And so that's a 1. Rolling low in the Dark Eye is good. So to resolve a task, you have skill points. And that's how many points you've put into that skill as you progress it. And then the 3 attributes are a culmination of what that skill is all about. So you'll roll a D20, and then you can, if you roll over whatever your skill was, you can spend those skill points to reduce the die roll. But you only have, on average, you'll have about anywhere from 4 to 7 is a good average. 7 being on the high end, but there like your core skills, like if you're a lock picker, you might have 7 skill points in that. But anyway, if you haven't checked out the Dark Eye, let me grab the book. What Alan was talking about was this right here. This is the digest size of the Dark Eye. And it's pretty chunky. And the print is, let me find a section with just regular. Yeah, the print is pretty small, as you can see. But this is an exact copy of the full-size rule book, which is nice. And it is amazing. Let me check the chat here. Yeah, Alan Bray says, I have most of it, meaning the dark eye. It's crunchy, but not bad. It's easy to work. It is. It's again, it's like Fantasy Flight's storytelling die mechanic. It takes you a moment to wrap your head around it, but once you get it, and I talk about this in my review, my core review of the dark eye, is that expectation, that excitement of rolling those dice and trying to do a skill. And the first die succeeds and the second die succeeds, and then the anticipation ramps up and the third die succeeds. You get such a sense of accomplishment, which is, in my opinion, completely different from like D20 or single die systems where you roll one die and you succeed or you don't. It's kind of like, meh, okay, I made it, great. Or meh, I didn't, boo. But when you roll those three dice and oh man, and then you have skill points that can offset that, it is amazing. Magic in this game is very subtle. You don't, the example they give, and it's one I always use in my reviews and when I try to sell people on this game, is don't shoot a fireball at the orc that's approaching you, because you don't have time to cast a fireball. Instead, set his hair on fire. Really hard to hit somebody with a big axe if your head's on fire. I don't care how badass you are. If your head's on fire, you're probably not going to be thinking about hitting somebody with an axe. You may think about putting your head on, putting it out. And so that's the thing. So the spells, they have spell cards. I have all of the spell cards. They have talent cards, so because you get talents in the game. So great game, man. If you haven't tried this, give it a try. It's a great game. Is Ulysses Spill planning on releasing more of their books in English or not? Enough sales of core. Nefarious, from what I understand, yes. But what they've been doing is releasing everything in packs on Kickstarter. So I think the Bestiary was not a Kickstarter release. I don't remember. But like the Warring Kingdoms was a Kickstarter. The equipment book was a Kickstarter. Oh, and by the way, even if you don't use it for the dark eye, the GM screen there, when you buy the GM screen, I think it's like $25, comes with a tavern generator. Probably the best tavern generator I've seen in any RPG ever. So it's worth the price of gold just to pick it up for that tavern generator. And I believe everything they sell is also available as a PDF as well. So you could buy it as a PDF and then just buy, then you don't have to worry about having a useless GM screen if you don't run the game itself. Let's see. Nefarious says, I have it, meaning the dark eye, the bestiary, though the bestiary was rather thin on quantity, but the combat is more detailed, so it eases the criticism of it. Yes. That's the thing. It's a game of substance and a little bit of style over quantity. It's quality over quantity, in my opinion, for the dark eye. D&D, Pathfinder have hundreds of monster manuals. The dark eye has the one. That's all you ever need. Will they come out with more? Sure. This game, for those that don't know, the dark eye is Germany's version of D&D to America. So they've got 30 years. This game has been out for 30 years. And for 25 of those years, maybe even more, they have listened to their fan base when they make stuff. They came out with the Dark Eye second edition, and the rules were horrible. The fans didn't like it. So they immediately went right back and came out with the third edition and cleaned it up. Same thing with the fourth edition for America. They released it to the Kickstarters and said, hey, play it, give us feedback. And of course the Germans did, because the great thing about European countries is, unlike us big dumb Americans, most Europeans speak at least two languages, and one of those languages is usually English. I've been to Europe several times and I've never had a problem getting around. There's always somebody who knows English or knows enough English to help you out. So when they refer to us as big dumb Americans, they're right. But that's neither here nor there. The nice part is that Ulysses Spiel listens to its fan base, and the product is released for what the fans want. And the Dark Eye has 30 years of fiction. This game has been a tabletop RPG, various board games, numerous computer games, and several different iterations of card games. And I hear the latest one is actually really good. I haven't had a chance to try it. I haven't had the money to pick it up, but it's definitely on my list of things to pick up. I was introduced to Dark Eye via the computer RPG series. Yep, same here, Nefarious. I actually got turned on to the Dark Eye at Gen Con back in 1990. I think it was 92. I don't know if my book is. Da da da! Yes, Fan Pro, the guys that brought you Mech Warrior and Shadowrun for years, they got the license to print this. Let's see if we can see a date. I don't remember. 2013. So yeah, 2013. I bought this. I guess that's the last Gen Con I went to. God. Is that right? No, 2003. I thought that was too soon. Yeah, 2003. I went to Gen Con, SoCal Gen Con, and I bought this and I played it and I fell in love with it. And like I said, this is the version that the German people don't like. They're like, this game sucks. But they released it in the US. And what's neat is, aside from the changes in the rules mechanics in this book, I was still in high school. I was a customs agent in 92. So I feel your pain, man. I'm a grognard. I'm old. Don't let this handsome good looks fool you, man. I'll be 52 this summer. Yeah, this is a piece of our history here, man. And what's great is all the reference material in here is Alan says he has this one too. I was in college then. All right, you guys are making me feel old, damn it. Shut up. All the background information in here is still relevant. It's still, there's been some political changes and stuff as the game world has advanced, but like the nations, the iconography, the map, it's all in here. It's the same that's in the core in the new in this book. The background history is the same. They are sticklers for their history, man, and how things work. And that's what's neat about it. You're not that old. I'm 45 now and still gaming. Well, and like I said, I'm almost 52 and still gaming. So I got you beat. And I don't plan on stopping. It keeps me young. I'm hoping to introduce my youngest son. He's 2 years old. Hoping to introduce him to the world of RPGs. Funny little anecdote. My 20-year-old, when he was 3 and 4, he would sit on my lap when I would storytell, and he would roll the dice. And this kid could roll crits like you wouldn't believe. It got to the point, we were running Warhammer back then, 2nd edition Warhammer, or well, 1st edition. And my players were like, dude, we love your game. It's a lot of fun. Can you please roll the dice and not let your kid, because my kid would keep critting them. My son at 3 and 4 years old killed more players than I've killed my entire life. And not that's bragging, but that's kind of cool from a dad point of view. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is near and dear to my heart. 4th edition is amazing. I love the crunch that they've added to it. I found the short story collection to be decent. I gave a good glimpse at the world. I'd like to see more from them. Well, Alan, if you can read German, there are literally hundreds of the Dark Eye books available in German print. How many have been converted to English? I don't know. Not many, I can tell you that. Now, that being said, something like Amazon, the Kindle, you might be able to find them, in electronic format. I would love to see, or if anybody knows of a books on tape or, audio books of the Dark Eye, I would love to get a couple of those. That would be amazing. I would love to hear someone else narrate and be able to listen to it. I think that would be great. But yeah, see, we got another person in there listening. Pop in and say hi, man. I can give you a shout out, or gal. I don't want to assume that it's a man. We're talking about various different things. We went kind of on a tangent. We were talking about HardNova. We kind of beat it to death. Everybody agrees it's a fun game. If you don't have it, go out and buy it. Right now, it's on Drive-Thru RPG for like under $3 for the PDF. Can't beat that. It's not a huge page count. I think it's only, I don't even know if they do page count. Let's see here. About 150 pages. Black and white, softbound, stitched, glued. Uses the genre division dice 2d6 mechanic. It's a great system. Let's see if I missed anybody's chats. Well, that's awesome that Nefarious and Alan both play on school. Nice. Geez, 92. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, my RPG flavors run the gamut of everything: sci-fi, fantasy. I've got Cthulhu up there. You know, I'm a big Cthulhu fan. I just don't like running horror games. It's not my cup of tea. I don't do it very well. Not to say that I can't. I don't prefer to run horror. That's just me. I'm scared. But yeah, the Dark Eye dice set, man, pretty cool if you can pick this up. They even have fate tokens, which are little poker chips that you can use in the game. It's a mechanic, kind of like Bennies and Savage Worlds, but they're poker chips when they have that Dark Eye logo on them. So, or that logo right there on the poker chips. I have those as well. Guys, I don't know, man. What else do you want to talk about? Give me something here, or I'm going to wrap it up. I'm running out of steam. And drink my coffee's getting cold, man. Look at this. I'm sitting here cooling. It's still hot, just so you know. Oh, but it's good. Mr. Mean loves his coffee. What do you guys think about Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds? What's your opinion on those? RuneQuest, another good game that's gone through many iterations and changed hands a couple times. Was never a fan, believe it or not. Didn't like it, just didn't grab me. I think at the time I was real big into Warhammer, and that's why it just didn't grab me. Yeah, basically. People made their own for those that are not following along in the chat. Hey, I've never been in digital RPG games, says Nefarious Cole, yet. It's not my preferred choice, but I live in Duluth. For those that don't know, this is kind of a small community. Duluth is about the same size as Beaumont, Texas. I had a hard time finding players in Beaumont, too. It wasn't until I moved out of Beaumont that I found more players, which is funny enough. But I will say Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 are good for getting you together when you just like, I live in a remote, I live in a kind of a small, I think there's 70, 80,000 people here in Duluth, maybe a little bit more, which I think is what it is in Beaumont. I don't even know. I guess I should know that, but I don't know what the populace is. I know it's not that big. I know we're about the same size as Beaumont. And I know Beaumont is about roughly twice the size of Lake Charles. So, and I lived down there in Louisiana for a while, and that had a really hard time. The gaming thing down there is very niche based, and if you're not part of that group, it's hard to break into it. I did have a lot of success, or decent success, running one-shot adventures at the local game store Paper Heroes in Lake Charles, and I ran into some cool people, and then I got into their gaming group, which was a pretty decent-sized gaming group. The problem was there was 2 players in that group that didn't particularly care for me, and I didn't care for them, and so it made it hard to play in a game and or participate because they basically shut me out. It is what it is, I hope that they go on and have fruitful gaming adventures, but neither here nor there. So it was very click-based, and they were all wrapped up in their games, and they had numerous games. So I just couldn't find an opening to run a game. Some of the other players, though, would come to my Saturday open game session. So that was cool, and I did it once a month, and it was a lot of fun. And the game store owner, Kevin, that owns Paper Heroes there in Lake Charles, super awesome guy. So Alan says that he uses Fantasy Grounds is what he primarily uses. I've used it for years and upgraded to the Ultimate license last year. I never got into Roll20. I'm kind of in your boat, Alan. You and I are of like minds. I keep looking at Roll20 for its ease of use. I see the things that Roll20 can do, and I like it. But then I see the things that it can't do, and I get frustrated. One of the things that I wish they would implement in Fantasy Grounds is a ping feature. And I don't know if you've ever used Roll20, but one of the things you can do with your mouse is you can click and hold your left mouse button on an icon or an NPC or a piece of terrain, and it will ping and it'll give you like the radar ping so that everybody knows what you're talking about. And that's really hard to do in Fantasy Grounds. One of the things I do in Fantasy Grounds to help that is like for NPCs, monster tokens, I'll hold the control key and I'll hit my mouse wheel and that will spin the miniature. So I'll say, you see the one spinning? And everyone's like, yeah. I love the facing. Roll20 has the facing as well. Fantasy Grounds, though, I'm running Esper Genesis. None of that stuff is in Fantasy Grounds. So, in fact, later on today, I have to go type in and punch up all of the bad guy information, or it's going to be a very kind of boring. I've been running the sessions kind of loosey-goosey, and it's a matter of how much I get to do tonight because I need to add the main bad guy and his minions. Some of them, though, because it's based on 5th edition, like he has acolytes. So I can just pull the acolyte from the monster manual or the DMG, and that'll work. But they have access to, laser guns and slug throwers and stuff like that. So, and that's not hard to add. I know how to add that. It's just closed brackets, and then you put it, there's a formula you use, and it's not terribly difficult. And you can look at the pre-existing stuff and kind of figure it out. It's not hard. And when you've got it right because it will highlight when you mouse over it and then you just click it and it'll roll the dice. So that's really nice. I do like the functionality of Fantasy Grounds. I'm a big fan of it. And I also upgraded to the ultimate license, and I do like that it's a one-time fee. So I feel good about that. And I was able to buy it when I was working and I had money. I like it. I like Fantasy Ground. I like the tokens. I just, some of the features that are in Roll20, I like more and wish that they were in Fantasy Grounds, but there is no 100% total solution to anything like that. I know people that like, Linux versus Windows and Mac versus Linux versus, I'm fortunate that I know how to use all three. So I find use in all three. That's just me. My predominant daily driver is a Mac. That's what I pay my bills on. That's what I carry around with me when I go somewhere. But my day-to-day work, because I work mostly in a PC world, is a Lenovo Yoga laptop. That's what I run my games on when I go to game stores. I use that as a GM screen because it works. It's small, it's portable, it's light. The battery holds a decent charge. And nowadays, there's outlets pretty much everywhere you go, so you can charge it up. It's not a problem. That's, there's some other Battlegrounds is out there. That's a pretty popular one that is supported on the Mac. Nefarious Cole, Roll20 and Fantasy Ground both work on the Mac. So just so you know, throwing that little dig in there for Nefarious, So I don't know, guys, what else is on the list today? I got about 30 more minutes and then I have to wrap it up. I have to go pick up my wife from her treatment. So anything anybody else wants to talk about? Any other games, any RPGs, any opinions, anything you want to see on the channel? I've been thinking about dabbling in video games. I hate to say this, but I see a lot of Twitch streamers streaming and making some money off of RPGs. The problem is I'd have to get an Elgato, I think, which I don't have the money for, or something to that effect in order to stream, because I don't want to stream PC games. I'm not a PC gamer. It's just not my cup of tea. But I haven't decided if I want to do that yet. I kind of play video games for fun, and I don't want it to become work. But then I have to look at the aspect of it. It's a chance to generate revenue. So, and then I don't want it to take away from my ability to do this, because I really enjoy this. I really enjoy making the video content on RPGs and talking to you guys about the various games and stuff. So I'm kind of at a catch-22. Finances are tight. I got about another month where I can pay my rent and my car payment. And after that, it's going to be, I don't know. But like I said, we just applied for social assistance. So that will help out a little bit. And then hopefully I can find some work or something real soon. So, but unless anybody's got anything else they want to talk about, I'm going to wrap it up. Any questions on The Dark Eye or City of Mist or Warhammer Fantasy? Zweihander. Thanks, Nefarious. Now you got me wanting to play Zweihander. I forgot about it. It was sitting on the shelf, being all quiet, wasn't bothering anybody. That's all I can think about. It's in my brain now. The gigantic tome. Yes. Zweihander, the book that doubles as a shield. And of course, Nefarious brought up Master Cards and Master Deck from Priestess. And now I want to play that. So, Nefarious, you should run you should run Shatter Zone. And I could play. And we could just actually flip the cards as we need. That would be awesome, dude. You should do that. Yeah. I know, right? It's a cool game. And we both have the hardback, so we could actually do a session over Discord and just roll. I'm sorry, guys. I like rolling physical dice. I love Fantasy Ground. I don't like the virtual dice. I'd rather roll the physical dice, and I trust my players. Trust my players to be legit, because I figure if you're going to cheat at a role-playing game, you're pretty pathetic. I'm sorry. That's the part of failing forward, so to speak. I'm shuffling my master cards because since Nefarious won't run a game for me, it's the only enjoyment I can get. They can be scanned into Tabletop Simulator, but if you have, are you on Discord, Nefarious? I think you are. Are you subscribed to me, or are you part of my Discord channel? I don't know. A lot of times people have different YouTube handles than they do on like Discord. Yeah, Alan says they can, Nefarious. Yeah. But here's the thing, man. We could get on Discord, create a channel on Discord, and we could run. Yes, I do have a link in the show notes to it's actually on my YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, Mikhail Tobold. Hey, Mr. Mean, now that you are a big fan of Warhammer Fantasy, what do you think of the new Warhammer 40K RPG? Many greetings from Denmark. Hey, man. I've always been a fan of Warhammer since the early days. In fact, on the shelf there, I have Warhammer First Edition. And then I also have the reprint done by Hogshead. I also have the Green Ronin Black Library version, and of course the new 4th edition. And I am a fan of all of them. But what do I think of the 40K RPG? Not a fan. Sorry. I don't like the cartoony art. I like the original. In fact, if you go, Mikhail, if you go into my archive, I think it's 2 videos ago, maybe 1 video ago, I just did a review of Rogue Trader for or Dark Heresy. I'm sorry, Dark Heresy from Fantasy Flight Games, and I think those are much better games. Nefarious says he likes the mechanics, but the book is a bit fugly. Proofreading in RPGs is something that I give a pass to. Reason being, none of these people are novelists or professional authors in the most part. Now, that being said, when you get to the level of like Fantasy Flight or Paizo or, Wizards of the Coast, D&D, I have little to no tolerance for bad proofreading or editing, because they have a staff of editors. They have a staff of proofreaders. They have a staff of play testers that are paid, and they should be looking for that stuff. One of the biggest compliments that I can give is to the game companies like Indie. It's Never Dark Enough. They did the Shattered RPG, which if you don't have that RPG, it's gorgeous. They set up a Google Docs spreadsheet for you to proofread and put in all the spelling errors. Now, that being said, before the book went to print, there were still errors that got through, because it's human nature. We glance through, we read things differently than we interpret it in our brain. Let's see. I still have Dark Heresy 2E, but those old D100 mechanics is wrought with way too many die modifiers and rule exceptions. It's super bloated. Yes and no. Remember, the way I look at it is, it's your role-playing game. Use the mechanics you want, leave out the ones you don't. Now, the new 40K, Ross Watson is a fly-by-night friend of mine. And what I mean is I've talked to him on several occasions. I talked to him over Torg. I talked to him at a couple game conventions. I think he knows my name. He may even know me by sight. I should say he knows my face. He may know me by name as Mr. Mean. But I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the layout of the book. I don't like the iconography they chose. It's too cartoony. They tried to appeal to everyone. The thing about Warhammer 40K, and remember, I'm Mikhail, this is for you. I'm a grognard. That's an American term that means old gamer or old person that's set in his ways, if you're familiar with that term. And I like the old 40K. I like the dark, gritty, ugly, everybody dies. It's Alan, yeah, I'll get you a link here. Bear with me 1 second. But Mikhail, to summarize your question, no, I'm not a fan of the new 40K. Much success to them. It's being done by Ulysses Spiel. It looks great as far as I like to see good product come out, and it's good product. It's just not for me. I don't. My hair is everywhere, man. It's just not the game for me. Dark and gritty is bestest. Yes, Nefarious. Of course, I'm often a fan of dice pool mechanics for a better bell curve and easier bonus penalty modifications. Add or remove dice. Yeah, I'm with you there. I love Vampire. I love that D10 system. But yeah, I don't even know the full solid rules of the mechanics for the new 40K. Now, that being said, someone wants to send me a PDF copy or send me a copy of the rule book. I'll be happy to read it and review it, but I'm not going to go out and buy it on my own. I was tempted. It falls into the same category of Legends of the Five Rings. Fantasy Flight picked up the license to Legends of the Five Rings, and I love second edition L5R. It's my go-to if I'm going to run a Asian themed game. I'm going to run second edition L5R. Fourth edition is pretty cool. Too crunchy in my that game should be fast, and with those mechanics, it's not fast. There's all these modifiers. It suffers from what I call the Rift syndrome, meaning Palladium's Rifts. It's a great game. Too many books. A GM will go crazy trying to remember all those rules and all those mechanics. And if you let players willy-nilly choose from everything, it'll be chaotic. So that's one of those things you want to keep an eye out for. And it's just not my cup of tea. I'm going to see if I can get my link to my Discord off of my channel. Let's see if this will work. There you guys go. Let me know if that works for you. And Mikhail, are you on my Discord? Do you follow Discord? Yeah, you'll have an epiphany once you play Genesis Star Wars. Yes, I'm a huge Descent fan of the board game. I have a lot of the I don't have them all, but I have quite a bit of them. And when I saw the Genesis and I read it and I saw some of the art and I called it. If you go back in the archives and you look at my original review of Genesis, I called it saying that Realms of Tyrnoth was going to be the first splat book. And then lo and behold, like 2 months later, they announced that it was going to be a setting book, and I'm so happy because that's a very cool fantasy setting for me. I like Realms of Tyrnoth. Yeah, I need to paint my stuff. I have the Conan that was done by Monolith, the Conan board game that came with I backed it at the king level, which was the highest tier you could back, and it was I don't know, 100 and something, almost $200. I think it came with 230 miniatures all said and done. I mean, it's just a sickening amount of miniatures. I'll never get those things painted, but God, would that not look cool if you got that all painted? Oh man, and what I would love to do is get a bunch of friends that want to play that game and we're all decent miniature painters, and we could just have a hobby day, like once every other week or something. We all get together and paint those miniatures, and then dude, that would be awesome. But the Conan board game, if you don't have it, is a phenomenal. It's a really fun board game. You have to download the rules update from their website, though. Don't use the rules in the box set unless it's a later print run, because the original rules were broken. They weren't good. And it was also a translation thing, because they're a French-based company, and it was done. Well, thank you for following, Mikhail, on YouTube. I appreciate it. If you use Discord, up a couple levels there, I just posted the Discord link. I'm on Discord all day long. It's on my phone, so I can chat usually whenever. Or if you have a games question or whatever, I'm more than happy to help. I appreciate you being in Denmark. There's quite a bit of a time difference there. It should be pretty late there, yes? Nefarious. And so you have the Conan game too. Have you got to play it though? Alan says he loves the system, but he just has a hard time understanding the dice. Alan, anytime you want to jump on Discord, my friend, and we can go through the dice, I'll be more than happy to do it with you. It's not hard. It really is easy. And what you got, it's one of those games you've got to play it to understand it. And once you do, like Nefarious said, you will have an epiphany. It is so great. And the nice part is, like, I went hard into Star Wars when it came out, The Edge of the Empire. I have, like, I think 8 sets of dice. The nice part is Realms of Tyranoth dice are exactly the same. They're just slightly colored, and the logos are slightly different, but they are close enough that it doesn't matter. You can use Star Wars with Tyranoth, Tyranoth with Star Wars. Let's say Nefarious says he just got Warhammer Quest, Blackstone Fortress, Gloomhaven, and Sword and Sorcery. The unpainted minis are all glaring at me. Yes, they are, and you should paint them. I have no interest in Warhammer Quest, Blackstone Fortress. I've watched... I follow Ash Barker, Guerrilla Miniature Games on YouTube. He does a Let's Play of a lot of cool 40K related stuff and other games, because I'm a big fan of Malifaux and Wrath of Kings, and he covers all of those, and Dark Age, all of those miniatures games I love. Frostgrave. And I watched his Let's Play of Blackstone Fortress, and it didn't do anything for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, not for everybody. Oh, cool. Well, Mikhail, it's about 6 p.m. there in Denmark. It is 11 o'clock here, and he's about to go to his gaming group. So that's awesome, dude. Well, may your dice roll high if they need to, or low if they need to, and I hope that you have much fun. Thank you for subscribing and watching my channel. It means a lot to me, sir. And as always, peace and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says, be nice. Those that don't know, I always end my videos with be nice. My son has a little shirt that says be nice, and I keep meaning to get him on one of these videos wearing that shirt so I can just point to it and I won't say anything. But that's just me being a goob. I'm a dork. Alan Bray says, it's what I thought. I wish they had a starter set. I own the main 2 books, but I like the FFG starter. Yeah, they didn't do a starter set for Genesis, and that's because it's so generic. You can play anything. That being said, if you can still find the starter sets for Star Wars and you're interested in running either Shadow of the Beanstalk or Realms of Tyranoth, those starter sets, man, you can't go wrong. I mean, you can give the tokens and everything else to your friends. The dice set alone is $15. If you buy the dice. I bought my dice, a lot of my dice, through those starter sets, so I got the bang for the buck. And also Amazon usually has a good price. Miniature Market is really good as well. And Game Nerds with a Z, GAMENERDZ, Game Nerds. Hey, thank you, Mikhail, and appreciate you watching, sir. Have fun at your game, man. I got a thumbs up from Denmark. That made my day. although the dice symbols are a bit different between Star Wars and Genesis, they still represent the exact. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. You can, so if you have a ton of the Star Wars dice, but you want to play Genesis, don't feel like you have to go out and buy the Genesis dice. It's irrelevant. You don't have to. You can you can use those Star Wars dice, and the symbols correlate exactly the same. The colors even go, they're slightly off, but they're close enough that you'll understand, because in a lot of the Fantasy Flight games, they don't give you the symbol, they give you the color of the dice, and whether it's a D12 or a D8 or a D6, or they give you the symbol and the color. It's close enough that you'll have no problem. Yeah, the Alan got him. So you've bought multiple sets, so you're good. If you don't, but again, if you want to get into Star Wars and you don't have the Star Wars dice, you've got 2 sets of Genesis dice. You can use those. The symbols are almost identical. You'll have no problem figuring out. And like I said, they don't use the symbols in the RPG as much as they use the dice symbols themselves. And the dice symbols are, a D8 is a D8, a D10 is a D. You're going to know what they are. So it's a D12 is a D. You'll have no problem, is basically what I'm saying. The dice are interchangeable. So, guys, we had someone on from Denmark. I think that's pretty cool. He's obviously, I see that the number of viewers has dropped back down to 3, and he's back over. He's heading off to his RPG game. I wish him the most excellence. Oh, and I got a Discord message from Alan. Well, welcome aboard, sir. I'm on Discord, like I said, a lot. My toner cartridges from Amazon shipped. I'm sure you guys wanted to know that. Oh, and Nefarious joined as well. Well, thank you, man. You guys, I appreciate it. That's very cool. Yeah, I just gave you a shout out, Nefarious. Yeah, so I have 2 Discord channels. I have one for I have 2 separate channels and multiple channels inside one of them, if that makes any sense. I have to relaunch Discord on my computer. I turned it off because as I was doing the earlier video, I kept getting interrupted by Discord. Yeah, Nefarious, that'd be cool, man. Like I said, I'd love to give Shadow, whatever it is, a try. I'm spacing on names today. Don't get old, man. Don't get old. Shadow Zone. Love to give Shadow Zone a try. I would love to make a character and give that a try and just use the cards. And like I said, Discord, we use Discord for our video and text chatting while we're on Fantasy Ground. And last week, long story short, I bought a new router and I forgot to open up the ports for Fantasy Ground on the router. So unfortunately, nobody could connect, so we couldn't use Fantasy Ground. And so we did everything through Discord, and we just rolled real dice. And to be honest, I had just as much fun as using Fantasy Grounds. I like the sound of dice hitting the table, and everybody seemed to have a good time. It was more of an investigation scenario, so I don't think there was any combat at all. So in fact, there wasn't. I know there wasn't. So we had a good time. Thomas, the guy who plays, he plays a Promethean warrior. He was a little bored, I could tell. But that's Tom. We call him Grumpy Cat for a reason. But yeah, I would love to get these mastered. I'd love to give these a use. That would be really cool to give those a try. Although if you would be the GM, I don't think I would need my cards. You would. Although I guess I could flip a card or whatever. I don't know. We'd figure it out one way or the other. But thank you guys for joining the Discord. I appreciate it. Man, we've been on here for almost 2 hours. I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know if there's anything else. Like I said, I'm on Discord all day. It's on my cell phone, so I have it on the go. So if something comes up, if there's something you want to see me cover in the future, let me know. Like I said, I'm on Discord. You can hit me up there most of the time. Usually in the evening, it's family time, and so I don't pay attention to it too much, but I'll try. Thanks, man. Thanks, Nefarious. Thanks for chatting with me, man. You made it interesting, and we went down a rabbit hole, brother. we talked about a lot of different things, so I hope everybody enjoys it. Alan, thanks for signing up and joining, man. I appreciate it. It was fun talking with you. You've been in a few of my other streams, and thank you very much. Thanks for following me on YouTube, guys. It really means a lot. Thanks for the thumbs up for those that did. And as always, peace and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says... be nice. And again, guys, thanks for all the love. Take care, and I hope your dice roll well. Bye.